We are back. You're listening to the Entrepreneurs Club and your host, Kip Marlow. And we just had a fascinating interview with Lee Miltier. She wrote that book. Where'd it go? I turned the page. You got to get back to the other page. She wrote the book Reclaim the Magic, and it was so interesting because it had a lot to do with how we have basically been, I shouldn't use this word, but I'm going to, brainwashed by society and government and corporations and so on, that there's a certain mindset that you can have, and we're all victims. Well, we're not all victims, and it's all in our mind. And speaking of not being a victim, we have a great guest coming up here. His name is Frank Manning. He's an old friend, and I don't mean him as age old, but we've known each other for quite some time. And in full disclosure, he is my attorney, and he's a great guy. He's been on the show many times, but it's been a couple of years since he's been on the show. And one of the best, when we were doing videos of the show, one of the best interviews we had was Frank talking about all our businesses. As an attorney at law, he knows all our businesses have this secret sauce. Well, how do we protect the secret sauce? So, Frank, welcome to the show. I just appreciate you being here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We talked about protecting your secret sauce.
Yes.
Here's a typical entrepreneur, and you see it probably on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But he or she wants to start a company, but you're starting it you're bootstrapping it. So you're afraid to go to an attorney because you don't want to pay the money to go to an attorney and really do it right. And what I've learned over the years, that when I was in business, my attorney was my best friend. I mean, I'd call him all the time just to try to stay out of trouble.
Right.
And it's not that, we do get in trouble on purpose. We don't know we're going to get in trouble.
Exactly.
So can we talk about protecting your secret sauce? How can a company do that?
Well, and first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. The whole idea behind the secret sauce is when an entrepreneur goes into business, they all have something, whatever it is, whatever industry you want to go into, they all have something that they see a lack for within that industry. They see an opportunity. There's a gap. And so they go in and they have either a skill or a talent or a resource, and they get involved in that. And the challenge, though, is, as you've identified, when you're starting a new business, you don't always people who with passion just go out and do stuff.
Yes.
And then they become very good at it. And what I've discovered is oftentimes the ones who are successful turn around and look back at where they've come from and say, oh, I probably should have invested a little more time in protecting what makes me unique. I saw an opportunity within an industry, and I'm providing this thing or service or whatever within the industry, and it's going quite well, and I'm training people to do this skill, or I'm having people make my actual sauce. You'll see sauce by way of example, and you bring people into the mold and show them how to make it, and then it occurs to you, that's what differentiates you from other people. It's just easier to say secret sauce and something that differentiates you.
Secret sauce is pretty generic.
Yeah, the 7 herbs and spices, and we're the happiest people on earth and all that other nonsense. But that's the thing. Why do people come to you? And once you've identified as an entrepreneur and a business owner why someone would come to you versus somebody else, then you need to protect that. That is your stock in trade.
Gotcha.
That's why your door opens and other people's don't.
Okay.
And then you look around you, and do you have partners? Do you have employees? Do you have bankers and professional relationships? And what have you done to capture and hold on to that secret sauce? What steps have you taken to make sure that somebody just doesn't take it and walk down the street and begin using it against you?
Yes.
And as you've identified, which is so true, and I get that, is when you're opening a new business or you're venturing out into something, it's intimidating to bring a lawyer on, because when you say lawyer, you think dollar signs. But what's really important is that you create a personal relationship with somebody you can call for 10 minutes or 2 minutes. My career has taken me to a lot of places, not just to practice law, but I run businesses and things like that also.
Yes.
And I'm amazed at how many decisions on a daily basis involve a legal decision. The execution of a long-term contract, or even a contract that you don't think is long-term but has an evergreen clause, et cetera, et cetera. So flipping back to the beginning of a business, make a relationship with a lawyer. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend a lot of money when you're a small business to get somebody on board, but do that because you're going to want to tap into that resource frequently.
And you really, if I may interject, Frank, and you really ought to have a lawyer do all the legal stuff to start your business. To me, I mean, a lot of people just go online and they go to ohiogov.com or
Right.
whatever it is, .gov, and do it themselves. And I'm not sure that's always the best way.
You know, it's other lawyers are going to hate to hear this. if you're starting your business in your garage and you are alone, sure, go ahead.
Problem. Okay.
You bring in anybody else to the business, and it's no longer just you. You need to sit and have a conversation.
Okay.
Because and I think we've had this conversation. It doesn't relate directly to the secret sauce, but if you don't get a lawyer,
I'm the one that got you off.
Yeah,
off track.
that's okay. If you don't get a lawyer on the front end, when you bring in a third party, I'll call. You and I are going to go into business. I got this great thing going on, but now I need capital, or I need another person, I need another set of hands.
Sure,
whatever the purpose is, I bring someone else into my business, and I promise you ownership, or I teach you my skills.
I see.
Now all of a sudden we have a thing, and now that's when you absolutely need to sit down with a lawyer independently and say, okay, I'm thinking about bringing on a partner because I need capital,
yes,
or I'm bringing on a partner because I need a skill set, or I have an employee who I'm going to make a key employee and teach my secret sauce to, and I'm going to have him make the sauce. That's when you got to sit down with a lawyer, because now you're making yourself vulnerable, and it's that conversation that will perpetuate your business. You don't do that, and I will tell you, last year I had 5 lawsuits going on for people who didn't talk to the lawyer when they brought the partner on. And the problem isn't when things are going great. The problem becomes when somebody wants out.
Oh, yes. I understand that.
When everybody's making money and they all stay in the business and they're all in love, that's the easy part.
Yes.
It's when the relationship deteriorates or somebody sees an opportunity somewhere else. One of the truisms of any partnership, I don't care what it is, you identify it, is at some moment in any partnership that exists on earth, both partners think they're the only one working. That's just what happens. So they begin to feel like they're being taken advantage of. You can go husband and wife, you can go business partners, anywhere on earth. That is an example of, I see that all the time. You hear the same conversation from both sides.
You really do. That is so true.
And so you need to create mechanisms on the front end when you bring someone on board. If it's an employee, you need to have the non-compete, and you need to put things in place so they don't walk off with your business. If it's a partner, if you're going to give someone equity in your business, you need to buy-sell. You need a properly drafted buy-sell, because it isn't the love that you're worried about, it's the separation.
We only have about 2 minutes left in this segment, Frank, but this really is part of the secret sauce.
This is part of the secret sauce.
It's part of the secret sauce. And, for example, you were talking about partners.
Yes.
Okay? I think on this very show a couple of years ago you said, think twice before you bring in a partner.
Absolutely.
You still feel that way?
Absolutely. Well, yes. And one of the things you think about is putting... good fences make good neighbors.
Yes.
Put up a good fence so everybody understands where their property begins and ends.
I gotcha.
And from there on out, you can do well. You're not going to fail because you have a partner. You're going to fail if you don't plan to have a partner.
Okay. That is, I like that. You have great quotes. Can I quote you on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, I won't remember it, so I'm going to have to go remember it word by word, but I'm going to have to re-listen to this and remember that I got to put that on the blog. That's really good. I like that.
Okay.
We have less than a minute left in this segment now, and I have a friend of mine, a young entrepreneur named Marlow, who has a kind of a high-tech business. And I asked him on this show, said, what are partners for? In fact, that wasn't even on the show. It was we were talking to a group of students at Lakeland Community College. And somebody said, should we have a partner? And he looked at everybody and said, partners are for dancing. And so they got the message.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to take a quick break. We're speaking to Frank Manning. We're going to talk about his ideas about protecting our secret sauce right after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to the Entrepreneurs Club, and this is your host, Kip Marlow. And we're talking with a great guy. His name is Frank Manning. He's with the law firm Manning & Manning, and he's my attorney, and he's the attorney for dozens of people that I know that own or are starting businesses. And Frank, thanks again for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun.
We're going to continue our talk about protecting our secret sauce, so to speak, in business. And Frank, I was going to ask you, as you were talking about that, I found a different take on it. I'm going to throw this at you.
Okay.
when I was in business, we sold certain surgical instruments.
Mm-hmm.
We invented some. We patented 8. We did a lot of that stuff. So we were protecting our secret sauce. We were protecting our products with some patents.
Right.
But secret sauce is protecting your secret sauce is totally different. And I remember hiring people, and they knew where we acquired certain pieces and parts of surgical instruments in Germany.
Right.
And in England.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no confidentiality agreement with them, no non-disclosure with them. They could have gone to England and taken away $3 million a year in my business, or tried to.
Sure.
That's what we're really talking about.
Yes. Yeah, what we're talking about is someone taken an unfair advantage.
Yes.
An unfair advantage only means that you've created something, you've educated and trained them, and then they walk away and compete against you. And historically there are rules and laws within our society that prevent that, because we want to give gain and benefit to those who have the ambition and the drive and the creativity to create businesses, and it takes a lot. People you can't take for granted the struggle that you have to go through as a person, and what it really takes as a unique individual to create and make any kind of business, and particularly one that lasts more than 6 months. It's not. There are so many hurdles to overcome, and so there are rules in society in place already, and there are additional steps you can take individually. And it's not that you don't trust people, but you're keeping honest people honest. That's all you're really doing, because the crooks, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have to make some choices about how you want to proceed from there. But keeping honest people honest, you're just holding them to the standard that they would normally be at. And but opportunism exists, and so there are things, non-competes, non-disclosures. There are techniques you can use within your business so nobody knows everything, which is, sometimes that, depending on the nature of the business, etc. Not everybody knows what the 7 herbs or spices are. Everybody gets to know 2 things of that nature.
Okay, that's hard to do. I mean, in a small business, that's kind of hard to do. But I'd like to talk about, I had this business, and everybody knew where I got all these products or pieces and parts for products. How do you protect yourself against that? What should I have done right from the get-go to protect myself as a businessman?
Well, the non-compete, non-disclosure is the most common agreement that you have with key employees. Down the line, as people gain knowledge and experience, and they get recognized within your field, too. Because, you can know where the parts come from, but if you aren't recognized as somebody who can take those parts and do something with them. So as people gain experience in that, the key employees you need to protect. And there's a lot of ways to protect them. You don't have to just be afraid of them. You can provide them with an opportunity so they benefit when the sales go up. There are incentive clauses that keep them on board, that golden handcuff concept. But there's also written agreements, which are really the best, because once they sit down and they look at it, I will share with you that there are a number of times I've written non-compete, non-disclosure agreements for people who were becoming key employees. They were raising through the ranks, and when they read the agreements, they make a choice. And the choice is this a place I want to stay and work and help build, or is this a place I need to get out of? And maybe I was planning on getting out of it anyway, and I've seen that, where the owner became a little suspicious, and someone was getting very well known, very established within the industry, and they knew where the parts came from by way of example. And we put non-disclosures, non-competes with
so you wrote them with a certain twist.
Yeah, we wrote them so that we knew this person was either on board or off, and people make the choice to get off.
Okay.
And they go into competition with you, but you know that. You don't find out one day that somebody said, I'm going to go into a completely different industry, and then 6 months later, you're at a trade show, and there they are selling your products.
Oh my goodness! I've been there. Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you gotta hold people's feet to the fire. It's not always. In fact, it's rarely easy, because what happens is you establish personal relationships, and that's where the true successful entrepreneur and someone who got into business and didn't necessarily have the management skill sets is you have to understand you're running a business, and people say business is business, personal. All business is personal. All of it's personal.
Gotcha.
But you just need to take a deep breath and say, we're doing this anyway, because this is in the best interest of the long term of the business. You put the agreement in front of them, and you're testing their temerity. Where are they going?
Yes.
Are they on board or are they off board?
We're talking to Frank Manning. Frank is an attorney at Manning & Manning. In fact, he owns it, and he's a great attorney. He is my attorney, and so he's got some credibility coming in here. That's for sure. So he is. How do we get a hold of you?
The internet, Manning-law.com.
That's right. I forgot the hyphen.
Yeah, the
Manning-law.com.
That's right.
That's okay. I forgot the hyphen. I'm glad you did that. So I'm glad you said that. So, and if they want to email you, it's Frank
F Manning
at
Manning-law.com.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you,
folks. I think my takeaway so far, and we don't have that much time left, but my takeaway so far is find a good attorney. When you're starting a company, or if you've got one now, make sure you have an attorney that you like, you get along with, you can call and spend that 10 minutes of time. It's like the oil commercial. You're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. If you pay now, it's going to cost you a lot less.
One thought about that, if I may, real quick. When I say establish...
Take your time. We're okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where your time was on this, but...
I'm not either.
It's important to establish a relationship with a lawyer. That doesn't mean that you're paying anybody a lot of money. Yes. What that means is that lawyer knows the nature of your business, what you do, and your key employees and the nature of those individuals. And this is going to save you money in the long run. And the reason being is this. I'm in a law office. I'm sitting there. The phone rings. And somebody I don't know calls me up and says, hey, I'm running a pizza shop. And I'm saying, oh, great, but I got a problem. And they start telling me their problem. I'm picturing a pizza shop in my head. Yes. I mean, that's what we all do. You start creating visualization. If I don't know this individual, and I don't know the pizza shop, and I don't know that his brother-in-law was actually the guy who created the pizza shop, and I don't know all the backstory.
Oh, yes.
I don't know that they have 27 stores.
There's the rest of the story there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you create a relationship and you chat with them every blue moon and you keep them in the fold, and informal. I get informal phone calls from my clients all the time, and they don't charge for that nonsense. We talk about stuff because I love business to begin with. But the point is that when you have that relationship and you make that phone call and they say, hey, Frank, I've got my key employee, Bonnie, and I know Bonnie. I know her history. I know her personality type. I know her skill set, her education, her training, how involved and important she is to the business. Just by giving me a name, because we have this established relationship, he doesn't have to do all the other stuff. And then he says, here's what we got. And I'll say, okay. And then I can say, did you talk to Joe? And I'll go, oh, I didn't talk to Joe. Yeah, Joe, because Joe and Bonnie, don't they work closely together? Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So that's the point of the relationship.
Gotcha.
It provides context to the conversation. And without context, there's a phrase that we use in our office that until I know everything, I don't know anything.
Okay.
A simple fact can change a story dramatically.
Yeah, there's another quote. Doggone it! Now I got to go listen to this again because I can't read my writing at 9 o'clock in the morning. So.
Yeah, no, I'm full of quotes.
That's a good quote.
And in my industry, it's true because a single fact can change a story dramatically.
Yes.
And that's where I come up with the establish the relationship. So to your point, you call someone out of the blue. They're going to take time, and you're going to pay for that time for them to educate themselves on your story, on your circumstance. And if they're an experienced lawyer, they're going to ask a lot of questions to kind of flower out, and they're creating a vision in their head. And I've become, candidly, scarily, I've become an expert at listening to stories and know when someone isn't telling me everything.
Gotcha.
I can sit and listen to someone tell a story, and I don't call people out. I don't care unless they're asking me to do something for them. But as I hear a story, I always look at them and say, "You're not telling me something."
Yeah.
There's because the dots don't connect yet.
Gotcha.
So keep talking until the dots connect.
Yeah.
Once you've created a relationship, you've already been through that.
Yeah.
And that's the value. And it isn't just lawyers. That goes with the accountant and the banker.
Well, the CPA is the other guy you got to get to know. I mean, you have to have a good CPA eventually.
Yeah, you got to have a team behind you.
Those two guys, and I had our CPA and the attorney on our board and I paid them.
Yeah.
And I gladly paid them.
That's smart.
To come to board meetings. So, Frank, thanks so much for being here. We got 1 minute left, and I got to talk about next week's show.
Okay,
so I
please
appreciate you coming here. Big takeaway, folks. Pay now or pay a lot more later. You got to get a good attorney, and Frank Manning certainly is one. Go to F Manning at Manning-law.com.
Right.
There we go. Thanks again. I appreciate
pleasure.
it. Hey, next week's show, we've got, where is it? Oh, yeah, it's Susan Peterson, founder of Freshly Picked. Learn how she found stuff at a garage sale and with no money started a multi-million-dollar organization. She now sells to the Kardashians, Kelly Clarkson, Jessica Simpson, and a lot more people. And she did it with baby shoes. We trust your business is strong. Trust us to make it stronger. See you next week.